So, BattleBit Remastered is a game that I don't put my sweatbands on for, but I still want to enjoy it, and it's always nice if you can get more kills than you do deaths in a match. So what I've done is I've spent quite a bit of time tweaking my settings as I'm playing to try and find the sweet spot for me personally. And settings always come down to personal preference. A lot of people will enjoy playing on ultra settings, some might prefer playing on low, or this game even has a potato setting. But I'm going to show you the exact settings that I've found that are the best for me personally. And if some of you guys try these settings, you might find that one or two of them might actually be a huge difference in your gameplay. And there aren't actually too many that I've changed. So jumping into the first category, we've got gameplay. And I always, if I scroll to the top of these, when we get there, I have all the in-game stuff ticked. I've got hit markers enabled and everything like that. But the thing is, with my hit markers, I like them to be a different colour. And this game is quite bright. Even if the map is a sort of a darker map, like for daytime anyway, nighttime is going to be a little bit different. But for daytime maps, your hit markers, if you've got them set to red, your kill hit markers red, it's going to be confusing. If you've got it a colour that's going to, like say for an example, you set it to green and there's a load of foliage around. Obviously this game's not exactly up there in terms of its graphics quality. But if there's a load of foliage and you've got it set to green, it's going to be hard to see. So for my standard hit marker, I've got it set to black. And it just means that when I'm getting hit markers, you see black and then you get the kill when it goes red. It's a different colour. It's a very, very good colour to stand against most backgrounds, especially in daytime maps. And then, there's not actually too many settings that I've changed. The majority of them are actually left at default. So I've got all of these show level progression and things like that. I sort the scoreboard by score itself. I don't really play these games for kills, deaths, and things like that. I play, I'm more of a, me personally, I'm an objective-based player. I would much rather go for a flag in Conquest or Domination than I would go for a killing spree and try to get high kills and things like that. So the rest of these are pretty much default. You've got your ping size. I don't show the FPS or the network stats or anything like that. And then you've got all of the chat enabled and everything like that. You can toggle the map on and off. And that is pretty much it for the gameplay settings. So the only thing we really change is the color of your hit marker so that it stands out against a lot of backgrounds and so that it's different to your kill hit marker. Just so you can tell the difference between when you're getting a hit on an enemy and when you actually kill them. Then when it comes to controls, we have toggle lean on. So Q and E are going to toggle lean instead of having to hold them down. But I don't do that with aim. I like to be able to judge when I'm aiming and when I'm not, so I have to hold it. We've got directional climbing. We can toggle dragging players, because in this game you can actually drag your teammates to safety before you revive them. But that is just a press instead of a hold as well. And then I do like holding for sprint. My reload style is hold to drop the mag, or just tap the R button once for a tactical switch of your magazine. I've left the delay on the reload tap at 0.15 seconds with my sensitivity. I've left it at default. I don't really tweak the sensitivity too much unless the game is too fast for my personal playstyle, or on the other side of the other end of the spectrum if it's far too slow. I don't invert my mouse or anything like that. Aiming down sight, all the sensitivities are at base, like default 100. And that is just because I haven't done too much sniping in the game. Because normally what I would do is try and find a balance so that all of the sensitivities kind of match. And you want your snipers a little bit faster than your assault rifles, in my opinion. I would probably do something like starting off the one-time sensitivity on around 100 and then just slowly come in a curve going up. Although I've not quite found that balance yet, so for the time being, everything is default. But I would usually start off at about 100 with the one-times or whatever I'm comfortable with. So say it was 80. Start off on 80 and then just slowly come on a slant down to the bottom until you get to the 40 times. And that would pretty much be about double, if not a little bit more. That's where I personally find all of that stuff comfortable. It's just at the moment I haven't played too much of this game. I've played a fair bit, but I've not tried all the different classes and stuff. I've just been playing pretty much Assault just to try and get used to the game in general before I start switching out my class and everything. I did try a little bit of sniping, but it didn't go well because I'm not used to this game yet. Then again, with the key bindings, the majority of them are left at default. I've got my vertical, horizontal, that's all set to default, so is all the movement. Then when it comes to the crouching, I don't like it where you have to hold down a button to crouch, or when you Like, they've set it up by default to press Z to prone. What I like to do is have no hold to crouch. I like to toggle my crouch, so I've got that set to C. And then if I want to go prone, I want to lay down, do a bit of sniping, I want to keep myself in some cover, I like pressing left control. I just find it easier because I've got like quite fat hands. I fat finger a lot of keybinds when I'm playing games. So I find it a lot more comfortable with my, like, the positioning of my hand on the keyboard when I'm playing, to have those set up that way. And then I like my leaning, like left on Q and E, my vaulting and stuff on space. So I can switch my fire mode with X. I've got no zeroing, increase or decrease at the moment. Steadying my aim with a sniper is left shift, and then reloading as R. Like, these are default, even for the magazine check and the safety mode. And then it only really changes when it gets to first aid. There's normally one thing that I find irritating to use in the game, and I always switch it because I've got a mouse that's got two, essentially, gaming buttons on the side of it. So what I've done is the button that's closest to, like, the back of the mouse, what I've done is change that for my first aid. So instead of, like, using WASD to move, instead of holding down 3 to heal, I just use my thumb on the side of my mouse, and that's going to give me my first aid. I just find it a lot more fluid in the gameplay, a lot more efficient to do it that way. And I like my grenades or my throwables on G. I've always kept it that way. Interacting is F. Sometimes I change that to E, depends on the game and stuff, but in a shooter it's typically F. And I think the majority of it is actually left at default. I think there's probably one more thing which I might have gone past. Where is it? Oh no, it's here. Hide UI. So I've got that on the front button on my mouse, so that if I want to get like a nice screenshot for a thumbnail or something, I can just quickly hide the UI by pressing the like front mouse button on the left-hand side of my mouse. And yeah, I've not done too much vehicle gameplay at the moment either, so that is still all set to default. Then if we jump into the audio, I have just got this like set up so that my master volume's not too high but not too low. And I've left everything else at default, all my microphone setting and everything like that. Then into the video settings, you've got all your presets at the top. So it starts with potato, low, medium, high, ultra. And I play on 1920 1080, so a 16:9 aspect ratio. I have it exclusive full screen. I've turned VSync off and I've set my max FPS to 76 because I believe I have a 75 Hz monitor. So obviously if you've got like a 144, you can turn up the max FPS. But I never played with VSync. I found that a couple of games here and there might have problems with it. So there's pretty much a default for me to turn that off. The brightness, I've turned it up a little bit because some areas can be quite dark in this game. And then for my camera, screen shake always goes all the way down. I don't care for screen shake whatsoever. My field of view, I bumped it up to 100, so it's not too much higher than default, but it's still that little bit to give me that better field of view. And then vehicles, again, I haven't done too much with them at the moment. I've turned all the shadows off in this game because shadows, if I jump into the shooting range, I'll show you an example in a moment. But I've turned all the shadows off. I've left the anti-aliasing at normal. Then everything else is just set to medium. I don't, like, this game isn't high-end graphics quality, so you don't need to go for, oh, I want my foliage to be sharper or anything like that. And then, as always, motion blur goes off. Never, ever play games with motion blur. They are disgusting. And then the last setting, or the last category, is your account, and that's just to enable or disable streamer mode. So if we jump into the shooting range, I'll show you what I mean about the shadows. So if we go into the settings, if we go into video, and we turn the shadows on, if I apply that, you'll see the shadows, how they make everything so much darker. I like it to be bright because I want to see my enemies. And if we come around here, you will see that these guys standing here, the whole of behind this is covered by shadows. So as you're coming around the corner, if I lean around the corner for an example, they're a little bit on the darker side. Like, if it's a really dark background, it's going to, like, make the enemies a lot less visible. So now if I turn the shadows off, if we go into the video settings again, we turn them off, we apply it, all the shadows are gone, and you'll see the enemies look that little bit brighter. And underneath them on the floor, there are absolutely no shadows, so it's nice and bright. So it helps you with visibility to spot the enemies. And that was, in my opinion, my personal preference, the best settings for BattleBit Remastered. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.